when I'm standing on my balcony looking outside, I can see the usually animals walking outside, right? They're usually doing this stuff. And I'd ask myself, what what do they feel, right? Like, I get it. It is a fantastical question, right? You're like, what if we could switch positions? And well, what does it feel like to be a dog? What is it like to be a dog? And this question led me down this path of digging. I wanted to discern um, consciousness and really just understand it, right? And yeah, I discovered it's a truly fascinating problem. Like, for me, it's maybe the biggest mystery in all of science because first of all, it's unsolved, and it's probably the oldest problem since the beginning of the universe. For some people, that's not going to be true, but um, yeah, for the panpsychists, people who believe that everything is conscious, they would disagree with what I just said. But I believe, you know, consciousness began when life began. Right? That's how I see it, and which puts me in the materialist lane. But yeah, that's the best explanation I can give of consciousness. But anyway, so I keep talking about this thing of consciousness and consciousness. Let me see if let me try to define it for you guys. You could look up the definition out there for yourself, but this is what I think it is, and the best way I can define it is to use the words of Thomas Nagel. And Thomas Nagel was I think he is or he was. I'm not sure if he's still alive or deceased, but he's a philosopher. Um, he wrote a paper called "What Is It Like to Be a Bat?" Yeah, and yeah, that paper is really interesting because it really encapsulates the problem of consciousness. Now, before we even talk about this, any proper definition of it, let's let's talk about the two types of it, right? Let's distinguish between the two problems of consciousness. We have the soft problem and the hard problem. And the reason why I'm distinguishing these two is because they would carry different meanings. They have they're very different. Now, the soft problem is typically what we can currently explain in science, right? We how we process information, right? How the brain, how the neurons in the brain interpret information from outside. You know, color, smell, taste, and all of that. It's discernible. It's comprehensible. We can easily talk about these things, and we can explain them scientifically. They are, even for the most part, empirical, right? They're empirical in the sense that we can test them. Now, the hard problem is what really gets me. Blows my mind away because even defining it is tough. Even defining it is difficult. Now, um, so you and I, humans, I'm guessing the person on the other side watching this video is a human. You and I, yeah, you and I have something we call a qualia or qualia, or whatever the pronunciation is. It's our subjective experience, right? You, you know what it's like to be human. You know what it's like to be you, and I know what it's like to be me. At least I'd like to think so, right? Um, But you and I don't know what it's like to be a cat. You and I don't know what it's like to be a dog or a worm or a single cell organism. You and I don't know that. So that's yeah. So the question is: does a dog experience joy and happiness the way we do? Does a cat experience joy and happiness the same way we do? Does a single cell organism? Same thing. Does a bacteria experience joy and happiness? Um, what is the experience of pain in a bacteria? What is the experience of suffering? Of yeah. So I think it's a very interesting problem, and there are lots of implications to this problem. Lots of implications. Yeah. So it's a difficult one. Why is killing a person considered a graver sin than killing a dog or a cow or killing a sheep for meat? Um, is it ethical to clone ourselves? Can I clone myself? And I mean, can I clone myself? Is not the right question. Should I clone myself? Right? Is it morally good to do so? Yeah, these are questions that I think arise as a consequence of this hard problem of consciousness. Science could possibly explain. Science can explain why we see red, and or explain, um, explain how how the brain interprets pain, and what hormones are released, and um, right, what they can explain lots of things about how we perceive and how we interpret external stimulus, right, from the outside world. But can it explain why we have an inner world? Why do we have subjective experience, right? Why aren't we just programmed robots that function a particular way and in only that way, right? Yeah, this is the hard problem, and I think it's a fascinating challenge. It shakes the foundation of everything: AI, ethics, and yeah, just it even I think it even has implications on the question of God and the soul, right? And yeah, I'd like to know what you think about this problem in the comment section. You know, um, yeah, it really fascinates me as it really continues to. I'm really enthused by it as I continue to dive deep into this problem of consciousness, and to me, it's such a multifaceted problem that it's so engaging because it can push you into different directions. It leads you down the road to discovering other important questions to ask, right? Um, yeah, I don't know. So only a dog knows what it feels like to be a dog, and only a bat knows what it's like to be a bat. I want to get into the implications a little bit because I think um, if the facts of it, if the fact of consciousness eludes us this much, at least its implications should be within our grasp, right? It should be within our understanding. So Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm not making sense, but yeah, I think the implications are really important. The implications of consciousness, the hard problem especially. Okay, so the first implication would be, let's talk about cloning. Now, we are building artificially intelligent systems that mimic human behavior, right? They are very smart, right? You have large language models, and soon enough we're gonna have robots that do literally everything. Now, my question is, can a machine ever feel something? What is the possibility of sentience, right? And I'm putting this out there, so if you have an answer, you can help me out because I'm really interested in this problem. With my background in computer engineering, if I'm considering studying for a master's degree or a PhD, I want to get into a domain that is interesting and worthwhile for me, and a domain that is going to have a lot of impact on on the rest of the world. And I truly believe this is one of them: the space of machine learning and AI. Um, I want to know if what's the possibility of sentience? How far are we from achieving building machines that can suffer, right? Because the truth about it is, any conscious being, according to my view at least, should be able to suffer. Because if you have an inner world, if you have an inner experience, then there is suffering, right? Then there, at least there's the possibility of suffering. And the second implication is cloning. Cloning. So imagine you cloned yourself, right? Your clone is going to have your DNA, your memories, your brain, uh, your, your brain structure at least. It would have, if it has your DNA, then it's going to have the biological representation of that is going to be you, right? It's going to look like you. So it's just going to be your clone in, in the normal sense of it. But would it have your consciousness? Would it have your exact same inner world, right? The would it would it suffer the way you suffer? Would it be happy the way you're happy? Would it, yeah? Would it feel pain the way you do? Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. So if your clone is identical to you, then is it you in every possible sense, or does it then have its own qualia, its own subjective experience, its own inner world? Would a would a new self be born? Yeah. Or would your consciousness transfer to the clone? Or would it stay with you? I think these are really interesting questions. Um, I don't believe there's going to be any transfer of consciousness, from my understanding. Um, but again, I'm open to contrarian evidence. If I can see contrarian evidence that is compelling, then I would probably reconsider my position. The third problem is the transfer of consciousness from human to machine, right? I recently watched this YouTube short. I was just scrolling on YouTube and I came across this YouTube short. Elon Musk was being asked a question. He was asked if the human species would ever get to a stage in civilization, or stage in the future where consciousness can be transferred onto a machine, where our brains, memories, our childhood experiences, if if all of that could be transferred onto a machine, and then we would achieve eternal life. He believed that. He believed that we could live forever in machines, right? But the problem of consciousness raises a big red flag. It if your brain is uploaded into a computer, would the digital version really be you, or would it just be a simulation, something that acts like you but doesn't feel like you? Right. I think that's the phrasing, that's the word I was looking for. But doesn't feel like you. Hmm? Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Can our consciousness, brain, and feel be uploaded onto a machine? Yeah, I don't think it for me, I don't think that's possible. But yeah, preserving one's consciousness, it is going to be a new brand of, it's going to be godly science. Like, just, it's going to be an incredible level of, it's going to be a new department of study, right? The next implication is one that I find equally interesting: animal consciousness, right? Animal consciousness, where we know dogs, elephants, uh, let's say higher echelon mammals are conscious, right? Higher echelon animals are conscious. But what about worms? What about fish? What about bacteria? What about viruses? So, if animals have their own qualia, if animals have their own inner experience, then why we have serious ethical responsibilities towards them? Because I think it would be wrong to elevate ourselves above them in terms of importance or something, right? Because I mean, we consider killing a person a graver atrocity than demolishing a bacteria culture, or killing a sheep for meat. It's just two very different crimes. And why? That's the question. That's the implication of the hard problem of AI, the hard problem of consciousness. Sorry, I don't know why I said AI. The next implication is the hard problem of consciousness. It ties in strongly with the the issue of free will, because, okay, if we take the material view, right, consciousness is only a byproduct of brain processes. Let's think about it this way. That's the material view, right? If we feel joy and feel pain and suffer and feel excitement only strictly as a result of brain processes, then are we really in control of our actions, or are we just biological machines reacting to stimuli? Can we claim agency over our actions? if we if all our decision making, all our experience is based upon this mushy thing up here, that's the mystery right there. I think that's the mystery right there, because if we claim to have free will, then it has to go beyond it has to go beyond just the brain. Maybe we do, maybe we don't have free will, but I think either way, it's a question we cannot ignore. Right. Now let's talk about the next implication of this. The next implication would be panpsychism. Panpsychism. Is consciousness a fundamental part of reality? Is everything conscious? Your chair, the trees, microorganisms, everything. Is everything conscious? Nature, nature itself. So does a tree have its own experience? And what is it like to be a tree? Thomas Nagel there. What is it like to be a tree? Panpsychism is interesting because it believes that your brain doesn't create consciousness. It's anti-materialist in the sense that your brain doesn't create consciousness. It just channels it, right? It just channels it like every other thing does. We are just one part, we're just one conscious spot of a conscious reality. So yeah, consciousness. The hard problem is a mystery. And what do you think? Let me hear what you think in the comments about this problem of consciousness and the implications, all the implications we just talked about. Do you think it's possible that we can preserve our consciousness after we die and transfer everything onto a machine? Do you believe everything is conscious around us? Do you believe animals are conscious? And we have a great and we have a greater, much bigger ethical responsibility towards them. Um, do you believe we are? Do you believe there is something mysterious about our agency as free will, as free agents in the world? Because if we do have the capacity for choice, then it cannot just be brain function. At least according to at least according to this, hard problem of consciousness reasoning. Yeah, drop your thoughts in the comments, and yeah, I'm out.